1 Kings, chapter 6. And it came to pass in the 80th and 400th year of the exodus of the sons of Israel from out of Egypt, in the 4th year, in the 2nd month, in the reigning of King Solomon over Israel, that he built the house to the Lord. And the house which King Solomon built to the Lord, 60 cubits its length, and 20 cubits its width, and 30 cubits its height. And the columned porch in front of the temple, 20 cubits was the length of it, upon the width of the house. And 10 in cubit was its width according to the face of the house. And he made for the house a window leaning, hidden. And he put upon the wall of the house a ridge round about the temple, also to the dabir. And he made the sides round about. The side underneath, 5 cubits was the width of it, and the middle, 6 cubits was the width, and the third, 7 cubits was the width of it. For he made a space to the house round about from outside the house, so as to not take hold of the walls of the house. And the house, in the constructing it, was built in whole chiseled stones, and a hammer and hewing axe and every item of iron was not heard in the constructing it. And the vestibule of the side beneath was by the protrusion of the house on the right side. And there was a winding ascent into the middle story, and from the middle unto the 3rd story. And he constructed the house, and completed it, and vaulted the house with cedars. And he built the chambers through the entire house, 5 cubits was the height of it. And he held it together by bonding it together with timbers of cedars. And came to pass the word of the Lord to Solomon, saying, This house which you construct, if you travel by my orders, and you should observe my judgments, and should keep all my commandments, to pace in them, I will establish my word with you, which I spoke to David your father. And I will encamp in the midst of the sons of Israel, and I will not abandon my people Israel. And Solomon built the house, and finished it. And he built the walls of the house from inside with wood of cedars, from the floors of the house, and unto the walls, and unto the beams. And he vaulted it, holding it together with timbers from inside. And he compassed the inside of the house with ribs of pines. And he built 20 cubits from the top of the house of the sides of cedars, from floor unto the beams. And he made it inside from the dabir in the Holy of Holies. And the temple itself was 40 cubits in front of the dabir. And cedar covered the house inside. And there was carved gourds, and leaves opened and spread out, all cedar, and stone did not appear. And the dabir was in the midst of the house within, to give place there for the ark of the covenant of the Lord. 20 cubits was the length, and 20 cubits the width, and 20 cubits the height of it. And he compassed it with gold being closed up. And he made an altar according to the front of the dabir, and he compassed it in gold. And the entire house was compassed in gold, unto completion of all the house. And he made in the dabir 2 cherubim from out of wood of cypresses. 10 cubits was the greatness being measured by a rule, and 5 cubits was the wing of the one cherub, and the second was 5 cubits of its wing. 10 in a cubit from one part of its wing to the other part of its wing. Thus to the second cherub with one measure, and one completion with both. And the height of the one cherub was 10 in a cubit. So also the second cherub. And he stationed both the cherubim in the midst of the innermost house. And their wings were open and spread out, and the one wing touched the wall of the house, and the wing of the second cherub touched the second wall, and their wings were in the middle of the house, touching wing to wing. And he compassed the cherubim with gold, and all the walls of the house round about he depicted sculptures with a stylus, cherubim, and palms, and leaves opened and spread out to the inner and to the outer. And the floor of the house he compassed with gold, of the innermost and the outermost. And to the doorway of the debir he made doors from out of wood of juniper, and 5-fold doorways. And 2 doors were from out of woods of pines, and sculptures upon them being sculpted of cherubim and palms. And panels were opening and spreading out, and he compassed them with gold. And the gold came down upon the cherubim and over the palms. And thus he made to the vestibule of the temple doorposts from out of woods of juniper, with 4-fold stoas. And in both the doors woods of pines were used. The one door was bifold, and their hinges were there. And the second door was bifold, turning, being sculpted with cherubim and palms, and panels opening and spreading out, and being compassed with gold, being led upon the impression. And he built the inside courtyard, 3 rows of hewn stones, and a row being manufactured of cedar round about. In the 4th year the house of the Lord was laid a foundation, in the month Ziph. And in the 11th year, in the month of Bul, this is the 8th month, the house was completed, according to all his words, and according to all his responsibilities. And he built it in 7 years.